Ready? Well, it's Monday, or rather, second Sunday. But actually, I'll call it Monday today. This bear's well rested. 8 hours of sleep. I know, too much information, but you'll understand how we got really excited about today. Because today, is that we've got Lori Vallow. Yes, Lori Vallow. Not so much Chad Daybell because he's been a little quiet the last couple of weeks after being slapped down for not getting his trial separated from Lori and not getting an extension after he asked for it 5 times. But Judge Boyce has stated that, they've had plenty of time to prepare. It's been more than a year. It's been 2 years, for Chad Daybell. Today is actually the anniversary date of when Lori Vallow was arrested. Yep, February 20th. And so it's kind of apropos that we bring her up to date, all of the shenanigans that she's been doing. So hello to everyone in the chat. Hello to my mods, always grateful. Autistic Shield, Charlie, Beck, good to see you guys here. Thank you very much for being here. Hey, Turtle. Hey, Rocket Couch. Alice, it's good to see you too. Today's going to be a big day for me. I'm back to the grind here, doing regular legal updates on true crime. Hey, Never Darling. And also, I've got a very exciting show tonight at 9:30. If you all can be here, if perhaps one of the mods will drop that link for you later on. We're going to talk science of evidence with Dr. Silkman, and it is always thrilling for me to meet another true crime buff who really takes it seriously and loves to look at all the details. I can't tell you how excited I am. Yep. Oh my God, Aaron made alive. All right, everybody, hold on. Buckle up, buttercups. That means this one's going to be lit. That's like it. Hey, Ali, thanks for being here. It's good to see you, Aaron. I haven't made it to anywhere near yours either lately, so I get it. But anyway, let us get on with Lori Vallow, okay? I mean, not that I want to ruin anybody's dinner or anything, but we're going to talk about Lori Vallow and Bryan Kohberger today, but Lori Vallow's up first. No. Lori Vallow has been, she's been indicted on the murder of her 2 children, Tylee and JJ. It's been a year since her arrest. She was recently in court. Okay, this is her lawyer, Jim Archibald. And I'm sorry, I do not know the name of the second chair. I digress. But I just don't know the name of the second chair. I All right, I'm going to have to address some comments, I guess, as we go. I'm going to try not to get too distracted. But yes, Turtle did not arrange for the court to have the day off. It's just what they call a mitzvah, a small blessing. It just happens. Silver lining? I don't know. But also, last night, did you arrange for me to get 8 hours of sleep? Because that never happens. That's even more monumental than having the day off from the court. Mhm. Yeah, were they your neighbors, Allie? That's so interesting. But anyway, Lori Vallow was in court with Jim Archibald, her attorney. They just had to go to court recently. Um, Lori Day Vallow did made a couple of moves in the last few weeks, since January. I'll bring you up to date. First, Lori decided that there shouldn't be a case against her. She wants it tossed out because she didn't get a speedy trial. Okay. Yes, I know. I told you this before, so you're not that shocked. But still, that gets me. And I almost fall off the bed every time because this woman had two competency hearings. They filed motion after motion to try to separate the cases that she didn't want to be the code. He didn't want to be the co-defendant with her. Going back and forth, I'm telling you. They've been a lot of shenanigans here, a lot of shenanigans. Okay. It's also a very complicated case. As Judge Boyce will remind us, there are multiple murders, not just the murders of JG and Ty Lee. They're also indicted with conspiracy, Lori particular in conspiracy for the murder of Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife. We also had the death of her husband, which her brother was indicated in, and then her brother died. And her brother is also indicated as possibly a co-conspirator in the death of JJ and Ty Lee. It's so convoluted. It's just so complicated. How could she possibly cry like all of this? It wasn't until November that Judge Boyce has said in his order, which was like 15 pages. Okay. Um, very well stated. Goes over all the reasons why it's not. Okay. So the other thing that he did besides that 15 page motion in denying not to dismiss the case, but prior to that, he also denied a motion and a request for the co-defendants to meet face to face. She did that also. She decided that, like, her attorney decided that since they had reached out to say, do you want to settle? Are you going to settle or what? That led to, like, maybe they need to talk, Lori and Chad, with their attorneys face to face to strategize. But prosecuting attorney Lindsay Blake, as noted here, really reminded us that there is no amendment, there's no constitutional right that says they get to meet together to strategize that way. The co-defendant, they have the privilege of their own counsel. They don't have the same privilege of the other defendant's counsel. Okay. The attorneys are witnesses to any statements that are made between them. What the prosecuting attorney is saying is that they argued against with the judge to say when they went, they get to oppose the motion. So they go and say, hey, judge, well, then we want to be there because anything could go and that's not it. They're couching it as a settlement conference but there's no settlement negotiation going on. And that's not right. There's no settlement. If there was a settlement negotiation going on, then they could do that. And then Jim Archibald, Vallow's attorney, admitted that asking for the defendants to meet was quite rare indeed. Not exactly something that happens every day. Okay. Well, back to Judge Boyce's denial of the motion to dismiss. Now, that happened just last week in a 15-page document, which I have linked below for everyone, all of you that love to read legal documents like I do. Some of you do. Hey, self-professed nerd geek here. I do it every day, and I enjoy it. And I find details in there and fascinating twists and turns that you just miss because the media just doesn't find them that important. Because the media is just looking for, headlines. Well, we're looking for actual facts of the case. Okay. Actual facts, evidence, case, actual happenings, date, time, event, all that stuff that actually is in concrete, is in the legal documents, is in the court filings, not that speculation stuff you see out there in the headlines. But anyway, on February 13th, that 15-page document, which was his response. The whole motion to dismiss is based on the fact that Lori says she didn't get her right to a speedy trial, which in America is guaranteed within 6 months. She should be tried from indictment and without any extenuating circumstances. Right to a speedy trial, unless waived, should be within 6 months. He said that, I'm sorry. No, it's denied because the trial's delay is minimal compared to what is actually they're up against. Don't forget, these are criminal charges of murder, 2 charges, and conspiracy with maximum penalties. Okay. First degree murder and conspiracy. He referenced the number of developments in the case, like their first arrest in 2020, which was February 2020, February 20th. The murder indictment, which was then the following year, May 2021, and Lori Daybell's competency to stand trial happened twice. The first one was quite lengthy. And that's not even considering the fact that COVID, we couldn't even get people in the court to do pretrial hearings, to do discovery, to do anything. Okay. It's important to note, this is a quote from him, that during the time Lori's case was stayed or paused pending determination of her competency to stand trial, the January 9th, 2023 trial setting was necessarily vacated. So in other words, we're coming April 3rd. We're only a couple of months out. He did have a trial date within 6 months. It was once she was arraigned and everything was gone, like once she was declared competency, they set a trial date. But other things happened, and that's why it got pushed. And it's not like they didn't try. He also called it an incredibly complex investigation, reminding everyone, that the investigation included a case involving the death of Alex Cox, her brother, okay, who's considered to be a co-conspirator in the case. I mean, Judge Boyce, I think this was a good ruling by Judge Boyce. I don't think it should be dismissed. I want everybody to have their due process, but I just thought that was a little entitled of her. I know they have to do whatever they can. It's a serious case. And of course, the defense attorneys are going to come out and do whatever they can to make this go forward more in her favor. And protect every right that she has. But those competencies, okay, and her delays in filing motions to meet with with the co-defendant, her husband, who she has not seen since the arrest, and their attorneys, where they could have private agreements that are not settlement negotiations, because prosecution is really clear that there's no settlement negotiations going on. Okay. Nothing. They reached out just to see if the defendants had anything to offer, and they did not. But they chose that to say, hey, maybe we should talk. No, they don't get to strategize together. That would be a conflict of interest there. And the actual prosecuting attorneys should be there if the lawyers and them are making any statements together. Plus, they'd be witnesses to each other. And here we go. Then we got the arms crossed and each one pointing at the other one. Just a big mess. And they're trying to avoid that. And it was argued successfully by the state. Judge agreed. End of story. Okay. Yes. Hey, Bearded. Yes, I would say serious, like capital letters, just like that. Serious. I mean, yeah. And let us not forget that this is what we're talking about. Children. Okay. Children. The lives of children. I never want to forget the victims. I like to talk the legal stuff. I like to talk the fascination of the charges and the rights of the accused, not guilty until declared guilty. These alleged murderers of these children. However, let us not forget the victims. And in that light, I'd like to bring that the gag orders, well, not the gag order, but the no camera rule is become quite a bone of contention with the grandparents, the Woodcocks. The Woodcocks are in the media right now, okay, actually complaining loudly about Judge Boyce's ruling that Lori Vallow in particular would not get a fair trial based on her antics in the courtroom and her competency and etc. If there were cameras in the courtroom, that it could be used against her. But let me just tell you this, okay? He's used in the Murdaugh trial Yup, here comes again. I can't get away from it. It's gonna follow me everywhere till it's done. The Murdaugh trial. He's using the Murdaugh trial as an example. He said if Alex Murdaugh could commit all those financial crimes and murder in his own hometown and still go to court right there with all those people right there in his own county, and it's televised for everybody, why can't we have the same in the Vallow case? I think people, he said it's not fair to the families of the victims. It's not fair to the grandparents. And he does not, he thinks they're overprotecting Vallow and Daybell and that they will get a fair trial, but that they should be held accountable and the world should see what they did. Mm. They just see. Turtle says, do you think wanting to meet was an excuse to waste even more time? Well, that's an interesting concept because, Vallow's pushing that she's been discriminated against because it's taken too long. And Daybell's going, please give me more time. I could have life imprisonment here. I need to like have more time with my attorney and we need to plan better. I want more time. She wants less time. It's quite convoluted. Either way, was it planned to make more time? I just think it was planned shenanigans to just muck things up. But the one thing about Judge Boyce, he don't play. He don't play. He did change the venue, but he made sure it stayed with the same judge. The only thing that actually changed is the jury pool. All the prosecutors, everything else is all going over there to Ada County from Fremont. I mean, he made sure the case stayed with him, okay, so that shenanigans couldn't happen, but they will get a different jury pool. During court recently, there's more that Lori did, okay. Lori actually put forth with her attorneys a petition that during jury selection, questions in regards to prejudicial feelings about religion needed to be addressed seriously because Lori would be prejudiced against because of her contributions with the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Okay, we all know that a lot of her rhetoric, a lot of her statements about zombies and this and that, and her active participation with that group became quite the banter back and forth in media, headlines everywhere. Everybody knows the quotes. Everybody quotes it back and forth. Uh, in my humble opinion, that horse is out of the stable, and I don't know how you're going to get it back in. It's a little too late for that. But anyway, she went so far as to ask the judge to say that she wanted to know every juror's religion. Yes, yes, that's what I said. She wanted to know every juror's religion. They needed to declare their beliefs to sit the jury. No, Judge Boyce said, listen, you can ask them about prejudicial notions about the Church of Latter-day Saints, but you may not ask every juror their religion. That's a violation. Can you believe it? I, mm. Always, I agree with you. That horse is not only out of the stable, it's in another pasture, possibly in another state. Like, I don't know how they're going to get that one back. It's been years of her comments about that. And don't forget the shenanigans while she was actually being evaluated for competency, and she was actually contacted by a lawyer for the Latter-day Saints. There was all this controversy about whether they were working together or what was going on. Listen, if anything, there's shenanigans going on there whatsoever. So I found it quite amusing. I did. When I read that, that was amusing. Yeah, she wants to know their religion in case they might be prejudiced against her. Not the fact that, anything else that's going on, but just that religion, they might be prejudiced against her. Yeah. Hey Ox, hey Tina and Jin. Thank you. And Bearded, you're not throwing me off too much because listen, anything throws me off a fly. So don't take the blame yourself. Although you're trying hard, I see that. Oh, quiz. Damn it. Always good to see you, quiz. Colin, great to see you too. Verillion, oi, Juju, everybody's getting memberships again. So Alice, Verillion, Jujubee, you mean Alice, you're here, but Verillion and Jujubee will be gifted again. Thank you so much, quiz. Remember, YouTube picks them. Thanks for the support, dude. Yeah, I know. I know. This is just wild. All right. So anyway, that's not all that happened, unfortunately. Oh, not unfortunately. Uh, let us remember the trial is going to be together. Despite the efforts of Chad Daybell's attorneys, his main attorneys, by the way, his name is John Pryor. Despite the efforts of John Pryor to sever the cases, despite the efforts of John Pryor to actually delay the trial even longer, because actually Chad did waive his right to a speedy trial. Um, of note, Lori couldn't actually waive her right because she still hadn't been declared competent. And then she was declared competent and she was arraigned. And then something else happened. And then she was actually asked for another mental competency review by the attorneys and the court. And then so she didn't, then she was arraigned again in November. So I don't know. Not actually a formal arraignment, but declared competent again in November, which starts the clock again. So the judge kind of has some legal precedent here that all of the shenanigans that was going on back and forth and her ability to actually stand trial does play into this. And also all the other factors. We've got the death of her husband, the death of his wife. We've got the death of her brother. We've got everybody all tied in together. And now she wants to throw the church in there too. It's getting crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay. All right. Again, the bodies were discovered on the ranch of Chad Daybell. Okay. It is in Lori's actual alibi. She says she was nowhere near there. She's got other witnesses. She's got friends and family in her alibi statement that she was in conversations and in contact with these people. It's great. But what they're saying is the conspiracy and the act of the murder isn't actually the discovering of the bodies, is it? And so that is where the prosecution is going with the case, is why she was indicted as hard as she was. It doesn't matter that she was somewhere else when they found everything. Okay. And also the timeline of when they think that these murders actually occurred. I have linked the Idaho government site for the public records and court documents for this case for both Lori and Chad Daybell. They both have separate listings. You can go back to the original indictment, which is in the link below to make it easier for you. And you can also go back and scroll through all the tons of legal documents are there. But most importantly, about discovery and what their case is. The indictment will lay out probable cause and what they're thinking happened. And that will give you some idea where this court case is going, which starts April 3rd, by the way, because the motions were denied by Judge Boyce. This case is going forward on April 3rd, barring any more shenanigans, So let's just see. We'll hope. We still have the petition. I don't see a formal legal petition by the Woodcocks, okay, in regards to the cameras, okay. Judge Boyce has said that Daybell, even though he said he wanted them, he wasn't going to declare separately. It was that way, and he wasn't going to reconsider it. I don't know if they can file on it or not. It did look like it was a done deal as far as cameras or any live streaming of the Vallow Daybell court case. So we'll just be doing updates as it happens. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people in there reporting on it every single day, as they did with the Masterson case. Just because the cameras aren't in there doesn't mean you can't, the information doesn't come out. Well, what they're going to do is protect the jury, and they're going to protect reactions of Lori Vallow and try to get the fairest trial that they can. Right now, the venue is still it's in Ada County, okay, and venue in Idaho seems to be a big deal, because we're going to talk about another Idaho case in just a minute. I'm just going to go through now and just see if you have any questions. Whoop, before we go to him, sorry about that. We're not ready for you. We're not ready for you, Bryan. Wait your turn. Okay. Oh, this is true. Mrs. C is not here to start the shenanigans, and I think Lori Vallow, for over the last couple of weeks, has taken up the thing. Oh, Tina, you know what? I kinda liked sleeping in a little bit, it was kinda nice, but I did kinda miss all that murder, but as you know, because they're filing and saying the family is using the murder trial as a reason to why this, no cameras rule should be lifted by, Judge Boyce, but we'll see what happens. Um And Jin says perhaps she's hoping to get a retrial based on the court not separating church and state, that she's demanding that they violate. I know, right? It is a good go around, don't you see? It actually was quite clever, but I think the judge handled it well because he's saying, "Hey, I get your point. Church of Latter-day Saints, they can bring all that in. If they're seriously prejudiced against you being part of that and the things that you said, and they know about it, and it comes out in jury questioning, then of course, boom, they're out of there. That would be prejudicial. That would show bias. I get it. And I understand her concern. We all have a little bit of bias towards her for that. Those were some outrageous statements that she made. Okay. Those were some really wild statements that she made. Okay. And people don't forget things like that. So they should be free to question the juries in regard to that. I would think that's standard, you know. But to ask every jury member what their religion was, no. That is going a little bit too far as the judge had ruled, as the judge had ruled on it. Mm. No, Tina, I'm not gonna put on a mock trial. I'm gonna enjoy the break, actually, I'm sorry. There'll be plenty of other live trials. This is only my second one. I can't say I'm gonna be covering every single one. I mean, if you saw the 25 cases that I'm following, there's no way I could do a live trial on all of them. Especially, look at how long this one took. It was supposed to only be like, oh gosh, 14, 10 to 14 days. It's gone into its fourth week. We just started with the defense on Friday with a couple of witnesses in the afternoon. Come on. Yeah. Let's mm, I don't know. I don't know. But they were closed. Today in America is President's Day. It's the day for Abraham Lincoln and Washington, those presidents. We used to have separate day for each of them, one in January and one in February, and now we just have one called President's Day. And it's like a banking holiday, like you would have in Europe. Like anytime the banks close, they call that like a holiday, like a it's a national holiday. Yep. Mhm. Alex stole the Vallow trial. Yes. Yes, Jean, I agree. Yes, I am so glad, and I'm so glad that he gave me the day. Thanks, Alex. I know that yes, I know Darrell Brooks is going to appeal Colin. Thankfully, I'm not hooked into that one. He had me so upset from the get-go that I didn't even cover that, but I did watch the coverage on Triggered Limey's channel and a couple of others on it, and they did some good work, and that was great. As long as that trial was out there the way it was, Triggered Limey did it all day, covered it, the same. I was cool. There was no need for me to get involved with that mess. Yeah. Mm. No, she hasn't, that would be interesting, but then she's gonna get tied into the Masterson case, right, Turtle Moves? Because Zeno made me do it. Like, no. Okay. So on that, if you guys don't have any more questions about Vallow, are you ready for Kohberger? Because that's gonna take a while. Oh, yee. Hmm. Let me get a sip of coffee, and then I'll check the chat. Tina, I'm sorry that Alex forgot to contact you about his day off. So Alex stole Tina's Monday. Alex told Tina's Monday trial. That's it. Hey, Mary Beth, how are you? Oh, well. Hey, Renee. Renee and me. It's good to see you. Mm, corn burger. Hmm, okay. Hey, we're going to get ready for this guy next. All right. For Bryan Kohberger, the Idaho Moscow murders, the 4 college students in November killed in their home that they rented on near the college. Mm. Mm. I'm telling you, this is very upsetting too. The whole area is lit. The media is on fire. And the media, let's just address this first, is really pissed off about a gag order. Okay, the Judge Megan Marshall, did a gag order after this case broke, when they started with the suspect. Okay, the media was going crazy. The area is really upset. Everybody's talking about it. People just started digging and talking about every little aspect of Bryan Kohberger's life. Okay. In all reality, we all love following the drama. We all love finding all the little tidbits and this and that and the gossipy things about the suspect, who at that point was just a suspect, mind you. He's getting ready to be arrested, okay, and brought back to Idaho from Pennsylvania, where he was originally arrested, and he was extradited back to Idaho on the arrest warrant from the indictment. Okay. But here, when they're contacting the guy's kindergarten classmates and talking about every possibility of his life immediately, this happened immediately. They start digging up everything on the victims. The media went wild. The gag order is there to prevent, because what happened was um, Stephen Fry, I think he was from the sheriff's office there. He like started giving statements and giving information out. Okay. So did the extradition attorney from Pennsylvania for Bryan. And they're all yapping in the media. It's going all over the place. And the judge decided, you know what? This could hurt the state's case. This would also hurt the defense in regards to Bryan Kohberger. No, this cannot go. No one connected to the case is allowed to talk anymore. Not a lawyer, okay, for either side, not anybody involved with the investigation, prior or continuous, okay? And the FBI was called in. Okay, the FBI is in there now. Okay, they are in this case. Okay, I'm telling you, it. I was very disheartened by some of the media statements, some of the things that were being done, how deep they went. I understand they got to sell; it's their job. I get it. But when there's an ongoing investigation, there's not even a trial yet. There's an ongoing investigation. We haven't been to the pretrial hearing yet to even see if he's going to get a trial. This all has to happen still. He has not pled guilty or not guilty yet. He's had minimal hearings. He does have his public defender. That would be his Ann Turner, Taylor. I'm sorry, Taylor, who has represented him in both hearings that he went through. He's been read his charges. He knows what he's indicted for. He knows what he's up against. He has waived for the speedy trial because he wanted that pretrial hearing in June, and based on the prosecution, who is mostly Lindsay Blake there in Idaho, but also Bill Thompson is in there for the state. He's been in both hearings. Bill Thompson said he was fine with waiting until the end of June or beginning of July. Everybody was in agreement, and so that's what they went ahead and did. He did not plead yet, though, at that hearing. He is still in Lehigh County Jail waiting for that hearing. Okay. Um, there's a lot out there. There's the indictment, the probable cause affidavit by the investigators, which lead a lot. And some of you that are following the Murdaugh trial, and we're getting into the wicked with that one, the real nuts and bolts of the evidence, will say that it's mostly circumstantial, that a lot of it revolves on cell data and GPS and vehicles. Same thing here. Read that affidavit. It's all about where his phone was or wasn't, and where his car was or wasn't. And as far as DNA, we have one drop of blood that matched familiarly to Bryan Kohberger. We have the sheath of a knife with one drop of blood on it. We have a very, very bloody scene, a very bloody scene. And yet, we don't have anything from Kohberger. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, we know that at the last hearing, okay, it was decided that June 26th would be his preliminary hearing. That's about it. That's when he'll plead. That's when the judge will hear evidence, okay, from the prosecution and see whether there's enough for the state to go forward in a jury to decide. Okay, so This is true, Jujubee. One speck of DNA that we know about. We're getting there, love. We're getting there. Okay. Um, yep. And will it be broadcast? The other two were recorded by news affiliates and put out there. There's a gag order on statements. There is not a no camera or no broadcast order so far on his pre-trials or any of that. We did originally see pre-trial stuff with Vallow in them, and then it got cut off. I don't know yet where that's going to go, but there is video of the last couple. So I'm not sure yet on that. It could go either way. It could go either way. All right. So with Bryan, we want to again remember the victims, 4 young college students. Okay. We have Ethan. We have Zaya. We have Morgan in gosh. Now, okay, somebody help me because I almost always remember the victims' names and these ones are kind of long. But the second blonde, I always forget her name. Mm. No, this was the trial date before they talked about his scratches on there. I'm going to go back to the victims. I'm going to give you all 4 of those names. That's really irking me that I do not recall her name, and she needs to be honored more than that, and she will be. Bryan Kohberger showed up as his last hearing with scratches on his face, and this is an example of how the media has gone crazy. There was more speculation on how he got those scratches on his face than I don't know what. And it couldn't possibly be that just because there's cheap razors, in jail, if he's still in jail, he's not allowed to have anything. He's got limited amount of time to shave. They hand you the razor and then they take it back. It couldn't be that, right? Or just that, he fell out of bed, you know. Thank you so much, Jill. Let me go back there and give you the names. I want that up. I appreciate this very much, Jill, because these victims need the respect. Okay, Ethan Chapin, who is the boyfriend of Zaina Kernadel. Okay, there's Kaylee Gonzalez, because her family is actually very, very active in trying to get the gag order released. Okay, with the media, there's a lawsuit about this. Okay, and then Madison Mogan. Thank you. Madison is the one that I almost always forget her name. I always think it's Morgan, and I'm very sorry because it's about her last name. So I apologize for mixing up the names there, but they definitely deserve the respect of getting their names correct. Okay. Kaylee Gonzalez's family is actually active with large media representatives for the Washington Post and all these like really big agencies trying to get the gag order lifted because they say that it's public information. They want public's right to the information of what's going on, that it's the greater good of the public needing to know in regards to this. They want it lifted. Okay. They say that it's more respectful for the family to know what's going on. Okay, and they have joined that. There is an actual countersuit in regards to the gag order. However, Ann Taylor for the defense has filed another motion against it, saying it would actually violate Bryan Kohberger more than it would contribute to the public's right to know. What would it do to him in his defense would be more damaging than the right of the public to know what's going on. Okay. I do want to watch the pretrial hearing very much, and I'm wondering if they don't reverse this gag order, if we actually will. Okay. Um, you asked about the pretrial hearing, so here, this is one of them. This was his indictment, or not his indictment, but the reading of his charges actually in his second hearing.
Right. Good morning. We are on the record. This is cause number CR 29222805. This is State of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Mr. Kohberger is in custody. He is appearing here in court with his attorneys, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Logston, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Jennings appearing on behalf of the state. This is the time set in the matter for the preliminary hearing status conference. So I am going to inquire of counsel. Ms. Taylor, what's the status at this time?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are going to ask the court to set preliminary hearing out into June. We would request the 3rd or 4th week of June and probably 4 or 5 days for preliminary hearing. Mr. Kohberger understands his right to a timely preliminary hearing, and he's willing to waive the timeliness to allow us time to obtain discovery in this case and be prepared.
And Mr. Thompson, are you in agreement with that?
The state has no objection to that, Your Honor. Ms. Taylor reached out to us by email yesterday with her proposal. On reflection, the state's calendar would be better in the month of July, but we will make the end of June work if that's the court's preference. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Ms. Taylor about that. I'm sorry, I know that's last minute.
That's okay. The court's calendar is going to be better towards the end of June, early July. So would that work, Ms. Taylor, for your scheduling on your other matters?
Your Honor, yes, if we take that 4th week in June, that's actually best.
Okay. So, Mr. Kohberger, I need to speak to you for a moment then. Sir, you do understand, and Ms. Taylor has represented here, that she's advised you of your right to have, or fully discussed with you the right that you have, which is to have your preliminary hearing within 14 days of the date that you initially appeared before this court. As you recall, when I advised you of your rights, that hearing is a probable cause hearing where the state has to establish that more likely than not, these felony offenses were committed and you were the one that committed the felony offenses. If you waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing, it does not mean that you're giving up your right to have a preliminary hearing. It simply means that you would not be able to come back and challenge that the state did not present probable cause within 14 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
Then I will ask at this time, as to the 5 counts, felony counts that were charged in the criminal complaint that was filed on December 29th of 2022, are you waiving your right to a speedy preliminary hearing and agreeing that that hearing can be held outside the 14-day period?
Yes.
And Ms. Taylor, do you concur with his waiver?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you.
I will find your waiver of speedy preliminary hearing is knowing, intelligently, voluntarily entered here in open court with the assistance of counsel. We will go ahead and set the matter for preliminary hearing. Beginning Monday, June 26th at 9:00 a.m. And I will go ahead and reserve the week, so June 26th to June 30th, in the event that we need all 5 days for presentation of evidence. And just so council knows, it will begin at 9 a.m. each of those days. Is there anything further to address at this time in the case, Mr. Thompson?
Not from the state's perspective, Your Honor, no.
All right. Or Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kohberger, then you will be remanded into custody on your same no bail at this point in time, pending further proceedings. Again, we'll send notice out to council and we will be in recess for this morning.
Okay. Come on, cooperate there. There we go. All right. So that brings us to the next part. Okay, that was very interesting. In regards to just that those actual pretrials, just those little hearings that he had where he gets to hear the charges, that's all been recorded and risked out. But it was done live as it happened. Lots of news medias did it, but they're not allowed anyone regarding the case, like prosecution, the defense, or any of the investigators are allowed to discuss it. One other thing I wanted to bring up is that because the FBI is now involved, there's a lot of speculation out there in regards to other crimes that Kohberger may have committed. The FBI being involved doesn't necessarily mean they're looking at him for other things, but it doesn't mean that they won't. Okay, because don't forget, the FBI's got huge databases. One in particular, India, is the Violent Criminal Apprehensive Program, where they try to prevent further crimes or tie crimes together, which the investigators of this case now have full access to because the FBI is involved. So that would include, like, how things are done, motive, standard procedure. What do they call modus operandi, right? That a alleged killer has. They can compare past and present cases. Okay, so they've got a lot more information going on. We must remember the investigation is still ongoing. Even though they believe they have the right person, they are still looking for everything that they can in regards to the case. Okay, they still have, as you know, there's still stuff dribbling out all of the time. Since the original arrest and they released the probable cause affidavit, there's also been a warrant at his home. Okay, and some other things that have come up. Okay, um, let me just bring up in regards to that search warrant, what they found. Okay, when that search warrant, which happened, they made it public in January 17th. It happened much prior to that, but it says that they found several hair strands, including one suspected animal hair, a black glove, a computer tower, unnamed item with collection of dark red spots. They also hauled away a pillow with reddish brown stains and the top and bottom of the mattress cover with multiple stains. Investigators who raided the property back in December picked up receipts from Walmart and 2 Marshall's receipts, as well as the collecting of contents from his vacuum cleaner. Court documents themselves show that 8 strands of hair were recovered from the apartment, as well as possible animal hair. They also recovered a fire stick during their search. All the items are now being stored at the Washington State University Police Department. Okay. But that itself doesn't mean anything. It's just showing you that there's still ongoing, there's still more evidence coming out. When we said, oh, when Juju reminded me we only got one spot of DNA so far, doesn't mean that they're not actively going on. The release of that search warrant is the only other release of any actual evidence or possible, not even real evidence, like possible evidence or indication of anything in regards to the case. Okay. Yeah, not a fire stick. They're hard to get in jail. Thank you, Ox. But I don't think they're going to let him have that. This was his residence, his apartment in Washington. Let me be clear, not where he's currently staying in Latah County Jail. Okay. Um, he went to his parents for his okay. He didn't flee. He went to his parents for the holidays, but that was his 6 weeks after the murder. So I don't think that's fleeing. It's not. And his father showed up to drive him with him there to go cross country with it. He also re-registered his car during that time and had all kinds of stuff going on, including the loss of his TA position, which I'll show you shortly. Well, back to that little bit of evidence that we were talking about there. There's a lot going on. I'm trying to keep up with the chat and you guys on here. Authorities reportedly said that they wanted to see if any of that hair had been transferred onto Kohberger and then back to his apartment, including that of Kaylee Gonzalez's dog, Murphy. Murphy was found alive in Gonzalez's room by investigators who were called to the scene and has now been returned to her ex-boyfriend. The application also stated that the home where the students were murdered had a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter and cast-off blood. Investigators believe that it was likely that the killer would have had blood evidence on their body or clothing and hoped to find trace evidence in Kohberger's apartment. Meet Murphy. Okay. There is evidence from the actual probable cause indictment and also on this warrant that the dog was barking. There was a dog barking audibly on a tape on the house security system. This dog is barking. The dog was found in the room. Okay. Left alive. Okay. This is actually a shot that someone took outside the foundation bedroom of Kernodle, where dried blood stains can be seen on the foundation. When they talk about a bloody scene, they ain't kidding. Okay, that seepage there. Okay, so they're talking that there was an actual quite the crime scene, and that it's not really likely that anybody got out of there without some kind of transfer of some type. This is the house that we're talking about. 5 roommates rented this together. 3 of those roommates are no longer with us. 2 of them are alive. One of them is actually in the probable cause affidavit as saying that she saw someone. She saw someone tall with a mask leaving after some whimpering and headed towards a backslide door. That is why there's a burglary charges also added to the murder charges of Bryan Kohberger. Okay, and so he was not invited. This witness has gotten a lot of flack in the media, and she's getting a lot of flack locally, unfortunately. Kind of feel for her. She is a surviving roommate. I think we've all talked about this before. Okay, this is the house. Okay, for the 5 roommates. All right, and let me show you. I realized you didn't see the blood I was just talking about. Hold on, I'll go back. There's the blood on the foundation. Must have been a lot. This is Murphy. I should have introduced you to him, but the slide wasn't showing. All right. That's a lot of blood. That's outside the bedroom where 2 victims were found, Zdena Kernobel and Ethan Chapman. And this is the home that they rented together again. 5 of them. The one that is surviving, giving testimony that she heard some noises. She closed her door. She actually thought there was some partying going on. She asked people to be quiet, you know. And she's getting like she's a survivor of a traumatic event, and I think people forget that. If she makes misstatements or she doesn't remember things or she's probably second guessing herself enough, I don't think people need to attack her for her statements or what she may have done. This is 5 single people in a college house, okay, that did a lot of partying. There was a lot of people coming and going. All evident, like all interviews have led to that it was a very active household. It was not unusual for there to be noises at night. Her, when you take all that into consideration, her reactions seem to be that of just commonplace. Like this happened a lot. She's not, it's not normal to just think, oh, they were just murdered. Who thinks that? You're 20 years old, surrounded by people partying all the time. There's always people coming going in the house. You don't know who is actually related to who is the new boyfriend of so and so, who's coming to do this, who's coming to do that. Could have been a delivery, could have been anything. Okay. It's at point in fact, Kernobel got a food delivery at 4 a.m. Okay. There was stuff going on in this house all hours of the day and night. It's not unreasonable that this particular roommate just closed the door and was like, ugh, they're keeping me up again or whatever, and didn't make that big a deal of it. But she is testifying to what she saw and what she heard. And she's being raked over the coals publicly by everybody in the town, in the media, over and over. And I think that's wrong. I'm still going to stand by that. Leave her alone. She must have been terrified. Exactly. Exactly, Jujubee. All right. Now they're speculating that she's not the one who called 911 about the bodies, that now it was apparently a friend of Ethan came to the house, looking for him and actually found them in the bedroom because he wasn't answering calls and called 911 about the bodies. Previously, they had said it was one of the victims' phones that was used by one of the other roommates. There's a lot of speculation back and forth. Until we hear it, or read it in a document from the court, I'm not going to speculate on which one it was, or how it goes. But this is what they're doing, taking little bits of information and going and running with it. And they're actually affecting these people's lives. I mean, that girl's life is terribly affected right now. hmm Yeah, I don't know. Like she was just, half asleep, right, Jujubee? She must have been terrified. So your brain is working, but not logically, and I agree with that. I totally agree with that statement. You're awake, you're half asleep, you're going through the motions, you see patterns that you've seen before. Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. Okay. Hmm. Let's talk about like what evidence, like what I see similar in this case to the Murdaugh case is that a lot of the evidence is in regard to cell data, as far as where his phone was in the vehicle being identified. They're making a big deal about the fact that his phone was turned off. Okay. And then we have the knife. Okay. Um, Previous pictures I have shown you was of the vehicle actually being identified in the area. Let me bring that back up. The vehicle being identified in the area, several pictures of that. This is the kind of knife that they're talking about. The DNA being from the little snap up there or a cover up there on where it connects, one little spot. But okay. I'm going to go through the 10 points from the actual probable cause affidavit, okay, and just kind of lays out where they're coming from, the state, as far as their case to date. But then don't forget, the other evidence that they took from the warrant has not been analyzed or added to this at date. So DM, which is the other roommate, stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past her as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. She locked herself in her room after seeing him, and she did not state that she recognized the male, and this leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Investigator found a knife sheath at the scene. I also later noticed that appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side when viewed from the door. This is all pulled directly from the probable cause affidavit. This is all from the investigator's statement. So when it says we're referring to the investigator from that document, which is linked below also. The suspect applied to work at a local police department. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. 4. A car passed the victim's house several times. A review of footage from the multiple videos obtained from King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by 1122 King Road residents and then leaves via Walenta Drive. Based off of my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in that area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time frame. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area at fourth time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. Again, this is all from the original probable cause. Audio was captured of a dog barking. At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. One of the victims may have been awake. DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information, and a forensic review of her phone suggested using the TikTok app at around 4:12 a.m. A campus officer found Kohberger's car. On November 25, 2022, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra in the area. On November 29, 2022, at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. Kohberger's phone disconnected during the killings. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. The police suggest that the suspect may have returned to the crime. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residents between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. the next day. A DNA sample was taken from the trash in Pennsylvania. On December 27, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. And that is all of the actual physical evidence that they listed as to why he was indicted. Since then, we have more. We have hairs that are being analyzed. We have what appears to be reddish brown stains not identified as blood as of yet. We have the contents of a vacuum cleaner. We have a fire stick. We have other testimony from many other witnesses and many other associates, family, everyone. Everyone's being questioned in regards to this. It keeps going on and on and on. But until we actually get the definitive of what's going on, we don't really have anything concrete. A lot of that, would you agree, is circumstantial so far in regards to location. It seems that to me, a lot of these cases are really coming down to technology. Technology is going to do you in, definitely. We've got CC cam. We've got people's home cameras and security systems being used. We've got cell tower diagnostics and analysis. We've got in the actual phones themselves that do location and mark everything that you say and do, what apps you have activated, when the phone comes on and off. Okay. We have the motions of your vehicle or GPS. We have cameras in multiple businesses and locating, actually identifying when you've passed certain places. We've got traffic cameras logging license plates to tell you when you hit at what time a certain crossroads. Yeah, it's all coming into play, and that's been very evident in this case, especially. The links to the victims do is because it's a college town. I kind of caution the links to the victims. Okay, there is said to have been an Instagram transaction between Bryan Kohberger and one of the victims that he tried to approach her as far as like how you get hit up on Instagram, they're like, "Hey, how you doing? Where you from?" Constantly this happens. Okay, all you need is an Instagram account, and there's going to be yahoos out there doing that to you, especially if you have a pretty picture as one of the victims did, as your Instagram profile, and a profile of all of your doings everywhere you go. You're young, you're beautiful, and you're very active in the community. So he hit her up. She never responded. There's actually no dialogue between the two of them. So actually putting them together, yes, he may have known who she was from her profile picture. He also may have known who she was from because they were in restaurants. They both worked in places, coffee shops, things like that. They were very active in the community. And he is also only 10 minutes from this community in a different college. It's not unusual. So linking it that hard is hard to say, but actually there is some kind of contact. There is something there to look at. But what it actually means, I could not tell you at that point. We do know they weren't in classes together. They attended different college. They weren't dating. There's no evidence that they were in any kind of relationship with anyone there or had any kind of an altercation. That has been discovered to date. I know circumstantial is evidence, Jujubee. I get that. But when I'm looking at it this way, when you hear the word circumstantial and you're on the jury, what do you mean? I mean, what does that mean to them? I'm just saying about the perception of it. I understand that it is evidence, and I understand you can build a case on it, and many people go to jail without a body and without a weapon. Seen it happen. And it should, because if you can prove what they did, absolutely. It's all in perception with the jury as far as how I feel about circumstantial evidence. I would prefer something concrete that they cannot deny. No way, if and how. Because with the jury, it's all about reasonable doubt. And whenever something is circumstantial, you have to allow for reasonable doubt. Circumstantial evidence leads to interpretation and analysis, and it needs a little bit more thinking. It's not concrete. It's not black and white, as you would like something more solid and physical. I get that. I say it a lot, but that's my view on it. But yeah, like a smoking gun or a confession. Very solid DNA evidence, a blood splatter all over his shirt. That'll do it for me. That's not circumstantial. I need concrete things. Circumstantial are the things that they say that we can actually take from this information that you were here at that time because of this and stuff like that. Now, granted, some of this cell data and GPS information being forwarded kind of moves from circumstantial to hardcore when you've got 2 or 3 different sources proving the same fact. I get that. To me, that's not actually circumstantial anymore. But I don't know if a jury gets there. When just the term circumstantial actually is prejudicial. Yep, that is all circumstantial. I get it. Yep. I know, because we didn't see it. We want to see a witness. You need a witness. You need a confession. You need a murder. I would like a murder weapon, and a body, obviously. And I would like some tangible stuff. I get what you're saying, Juju. It's all. But it's just and I also understand that the use of the term actually is prejudicial with the jury. I do think it just makes them think that they can think twice about certain things a little more. That's all. Mhm. But it does tell them to give it the same weight. He said evidence is evidence, especially in the Murdaugh trial. That judge has been very clear to them over and over again that evidence is evidence. And even because you see in the Murdaugh trial, the defense themselves has brought up motions that say that they should have had the whole case tossed because it was circumstantial. And the judge was like, nope, because circumstantial evidence is still evidence, that there's enough evidence here that it's possible and a jury needs to decide. I mean, that just happened the other day. Oh, yeah. And I get it, Juju. Most of them are. and they do give it the same weight. He does tell them. I'm just saying, you can tell a jury all you want, but when they're also told that they have to decide something beyond reasonable doubt, it does allow for them to look at things here a little harder, a little differently. Mhm. And we know that most cases are circumstantial. That's totally evident. Mhm. And most of us would like something very concrete, like you said, a video of them committing the crime, a witness who saw them do it, some kind of mistake like that. Um, some plausible deniability of their alibis, which just happened in the murder tray, made a lot of things that were circumstantial between appear to be rather concrete because he lied about whether he was there or not. And there's actual video of him being there. Okay. hmm This is true, MJ. The DNA evidence is hard evidence, I believe, in the case. This is just evidence that, yeah, what does that mean? That Bryan Kohberger's blood is on the sheath of the knife. The sheath. The knife isn't there, and that sheath was found at the crime scene. That is hard evidence. That is definitely hard evidence. Okay. I'm just talking about like the cell phone, the owning of the van, where it was seen, things like that. That stuff is a little harder for juries to track. I think it's my opinion, of course. I'm not stating this as a fact. Okay. I'm just saying. Mm, Yep. True, Juju. Okay, that's a perfect example. I'll put this up. This is why the term circumstantial should be stricken. This is perfect example. Okay. This is why just the word circumstantial. Okay. The snow on the ground is circumstantial evidence it snowed last night. I didn't see it snow, but I am confident it snowed. Exactly. But the term circumstantial just means different things to different people. I understand that premise of what you're putting there. I get it totally. But does everyone sitting on the jury? You would hope so. You would hope so. Mhm. True. They didn't say blood. If I said blood, I'll just mean DNA. No one has said what exactly it is. They just specified they missed it. It's been just DNA has been recovered. So whether it is blood or cells or skin cells or whatever it is, they didn't say touch DNA, they're just saying DNA from what I saw. Mm. Welcome to membership, Mary Beth. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to Murder Minions. You now have access to all those lovely little minions you can post. Yeah. Yeah. If you use Discord, please contact me on any of my medias that are all over the bottom of this descriptive video and also on the back of my on the back of my channel. My DMs are open. Send me your Discord ID and I will get you your perk as a invitation to the Discord where the murder minions meet and talk often. Well, it's nice to have you here. Okay, so there's one other piece of information in regards before we wrap this up. We're going a little long today because there was a lot on Kohberger. Something else happened with Kohberger that I want to bring to your attention. He was dismissed from his his TA, his teaching assistant job in December, based on his inability to act professionally with the actual professor he was assisting. John Snyder had put a complaint in, and the campus was actually dealing with it, Washington State. And this is the quote from them. This is pulled right from their letter that he received, basically as to the reasons why. And the reason I'm bringing it up is that there's a lot of media coverage right now about it, on what this actually means. Does it mean he was just like against authority? Does it mean he's got a psychological problem? I mean, they're really going to the wall on this. But anyway, Mr. Kohberger, this is from actual the head of the program there for the criminal justice program, and for the teaching assistance program there. Mr. Program, I am writing this letter to formally inform you of the termination of your teaching assistantship with the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology effective December 31st. The letter reads, in keeping with the WSU Graduate Student Handbook, chapters 9G2 and 12E3, below is a list of the events that led to you being deficient on the following contingency clause of your funding: maintaining satisfactory progress and fulfilling assistantship service requirements and duties. Because on September 23rd of 2022, you had an altercation with the faculty you support, that would be John Snyder, as a TA, Professor Snyder. I met with you on October 3rd about this to discuss norms of professional behavior. On October 21st, Professor Snyder emailed you about the ways in which you had failed to meet your expectations as a TA thus far in the semester. As a result, on November 2nd, Graduate Director Willits and I met with you to discuss an improvement plan, which you agreed to, and I shared with you in an email dated on November 3rd. We met again on December 7th, this time with Professor Snyder as well as Dr. Willits and I to discuss your progress on the improvement plan. While not perfect, we agreed that there was progress. On December 9th, there was another altercation with Professor Snyder, in which it became apparent that you had not made progress regarding professionalism, and about which I wrote to you on December 11th requesting a meeting. We met on December 19th when I informed you of your termination as a teaching assistant for the spring semester. Now, they're saying that all of this was going on. This is what's being bantered around there now. There's plenty of people on YouTube channels and from different characterizations of him legally, even just on commentary, that they're saying this is part of the motive, the stressor, that maybe he was planning on doing a killing because he was so fascinated. There's actually one guy out there who's saying that this actually tipped him for the need to fulfill his fantasy of killing. And that it moved it forward because he was pushing against authority. There was allegations that he had problems with female students in regards to being disrespectful, that he had a problem with women in general. There's not anything that's come forward as concrete on that. It's all people talking. There said there were some complaints, but I haven't found any evidence of the complaints yet. But this guy was going on to say that, this was his this was his trigger to push it forward, is losing his teaching assistant's job. He's clearly been fascinated with crime. He's been active in doing it. That's not unusual, aren't we all? I mean, if any of us were law students or anything like that, well, it doesn't not necessarily mean that you're capable of murder, but there's enough there. I think um, I would very curious as to see what they present in June as to the pretrial, um, to make sure that it goes forward. And I'm sure the state feels that they have enough. They've been putting out affidavits. They did the additional search warrant in the home. They've got enough there. They feel that they have him and arrested him and indicted him because they can place him at the scene. They feel confident that they can place him at the scene. Now the rest of the story has to be told. The how and perhaps the why. Remember, you don't need motive to convict. You just need means and opportunity in a plausible story without too much reasonable doubt as to how it occurred and enough evidence to support that story. Yeah. Oh, I pulled that right from the letter. Yeah. Jujubee, this is the university confirmed it. That is the university representative's letter. I pulled it right from the letter. Yep. It is publicly out there. The newfangled tick stuff that allows triangulation, circumstantial but factual, and used together becomes comprehensive. Sorry, a roundabout question. Yes, it's apparently when you use the actual data that's on the phone itself and you use the triangulation process, it becomes quite, you can narrow it down depending, especially if there's multiple towers in the area and everything, and based on what's going on. They keep enough data that it's becoming more and more, it's becoming used more and more by law enforcement, actually. So did this termination as a TA mean he was kicked out of the doctorate program? He's teached out of the teaching assistant program only. I don't believe he was kicked out of the program because it has nothing to do with his studies. It was all in his interaction with the man he was assisting for, and his lack of professionalism. I don't know how it affects his degree together. I would imagine sitting in jail is going to make it pretty difficult for him to complete his courses. But I don't think he was kicked out of the doctorate program as of yet. Thank you, Shil, for dropping tonight's stream. That will be in 4 hours at 9:30. We're going to be talking with Dr. Silkman about another case, the murder trial. We're going to be talking about the evidence and stuff there with someone who is very passionate about true crime also. For those of you that know, Dr. Silkman is actually the founder of Foul Play, who they do great work over there in the actual wrongful conviction cases, most prominently one I'm familiar with Stephen Avery, and several others. And I admire their work and their dedication. I'm just very thrilled to have Dr. Silkman coming and speaking with us on all evidence and science in general. It's going to be wonderful. Always grateful. That is always the frustrating part. I always want to know the motive. I need the why. Me too, but in most cases, we don't get the why, do we? We really don't. Yeah, me too. MJ, don't even apologize because I try to keep the terminology in order too, and I fail miserably. And I thank you all for your graces because I try to keep it as straight as I can. I don't want to misrepresent anything. So I appreciate it when things are brought to my attention. I really do because I want to be the best, Mm. It's okay, Mary Beth. There's always replay. There's always replay. Nothing disappears from my channel. It'll be there. Don't worry. I think he should still be allowed to work on his degree even though he's in jail. He is just accused and he isn't guilty. Sitting in jail is a real setback in life progress. I agree. And I'm sure if he has the right attorneys and the right advocate, he could petition to the class, especially in a doctorate program, all of the work that you do off-site and all of the stuff you have to study. If they allow him to have his notes and his books and things like that, maybe they could arrange that. I mean, after all, you're right. He's only accused. He's not convicted. Right. And he's on no bail. He doesn't even have the opportunity to make bail. And it was because of the horrendousness of the crimes that he's accused of, the general uneasiness of the area, and for the greater good that they felt like it was in the best interest to have him not be bailed out. Yeah. Well, there he sits. And I do hope, you're right, because he's not convicted yet, regardless of what we think of the evidence or the media or anybody else. Until that actually happens, this is actually quite upsetting to his life and his doctorate. Yeah, I can imagine, Alice, that's like really early in the morning for you, like in the wee hours, the dead of night. So again, I appreciate your support, and there's always replay. Thank you. Let me know what you think of it after, both of you. Yep. As long as he's academically eligible, the school's willing to support ongoing work. I get that. MJ, and I hope that he's actually pursuing that. It must be. I mean, really, he's sitting there. What else has he got to do right now? Is that besides worry for everything that's going on and try to help his lawyers with the case? I don't think they're there every day. So he's got hours and hours. That he should be able to pursue his studies a little bit, but we'll see. But on that, if there's not any more questions, I think I'm going to round it up. We'll be back with the Murdaugh trial tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be making that stream later on and putting it up. But for all of you here and for anybody that's listening, definitely we're still covering it tomorrow. Even with our tech issues and everything that's going on, we'll all be back with Alex Murdaugh and see what is stole today. Hashtag Alex stole our Monday. Yeah, our Monday trial date, but that's okay because this was actually funny. What are you, the sky? What? Rocket. What? I don't know what that means. Explain. I need an explanation, But Anyway, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., murder trial. And tonight, 9:30 p.m., with Dr. Silkman, we'll have a library chat, science of evidence. And I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see some of you there. I understand it's really late. If not, I hope that you will catch the replay. And on that, please share, like, comment. I like comments on the back of my videos. I'm really lonely on the back of my videos. None of you want to talk to me. I know you talk to me here in chat. I also know you come up with questions afterwards that you wish were answered. So please go there, jot them down. Let me address them for you in another stream, especially when we do these kind of updates that are about multiple cases at the same time. And we do them every week, sometimes one case, sometimes two, sometimes four at a time. And of course, things can get missed and there's questions. I'm open for the questions. My DMs are open, but I do prefer you just put it right there on the video so I know which one you're talking about and what exactly we were talking about at the time. It would be great. I look forward to it. Yeah. But on that, I'm going to end for now. Take a little break until I see some of you later on, and the rest of you maybe tomorrow morning or somewhere on the YouTube streets as we go. So have a great night, everybody.